Thank you so much for your interest and your time being here today to learn about some great research that's being done in the marine environment of Whatcom County. My name is Austin Rose, and I work as a marine planner with Whatcom County Public Works. I would like to start today with a land recognition. We acknowledge the lands we're on today are the ancestral and current homelands of Indigenous nations who have stewarded them since time immemorial. We respect their sovereignty, support their treaty rights, their right to self-determination, and we honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. These Indigenous nations include the Lummi Nation and the Nooksack Indian tribe. Forum to share information on marine research and recovery to better understand current conditions, inform future research, and support resource management of Whatcom County in marine waters and the shorelines. So the Whatcom Watershed Information Network, also known as WIN, is our host for this event. WIN is a diverse network of folks who are involved and interested in marine and freshwater ecosystems. WIN works to support informed engagement of water resources, topics, and issues. We also want to thank our sponsors, including the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife and the Puget Sound Partnership. Also, a huge thanks to the various representatives that served on the core planning team for this event. You can see their names listed on this slide, and you will be introduced to them throughout the day today. Be familiar with the Zoom events platform you're using today, but if you are here right now, you found your ticket and you click join lobby. So the lobby is the starting point of the conference where you can see all the sessions that are listed as tiles, and you can also view the current session streaming by pressing the play button. So when you join a session, it will open in a familiar Zoom platform where you can chat and raise your hand, etc. But to leave a session and join a following session, you will need to press the leave button, which takes you back to the lobby where you can then join another session. And these sessions are being recorded so you can view them at a later time. Sharing my screen here. Okay, so I would now like to introduce our keynote speakers for today. Tammy Cooper-Woodrich, she is a Nooksack elder, tribal elder and a storyteller, and her daughter, Angela Letoi. Tammy Cooper-Woodrich is a respected elder of the Nooksack Indian tribe. She and her husband, Steve, have been together since 1988. They have 4 children, 17 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. Tammy has been telling stories since 1985, and her favorite pastime is to spend time with her family and friends. Angela Letoi has been storytelling with her mother, Tammy, for almost 3 years. She has been listening to the stories since she was 5 years old. She says that even though she has heard them many times over the years, it is still challenging to get up in front of an audience and share because she knows that her ancestors are watching too. Understanding her culture and traditions means so much to her, and she wants to be prepared to share with her 6 children, her grandson, and she has another one coming soon. So please welcome Tammy and Angela.
Lauto siaya, Tamala Talsqui, Talita Nooksack. Hello, my friends. My name is Tammy, and I am Nooksack. This is my beautiful daughter, Angela. She has been following me for approximately 3 years and telling stories. And so she will be able to tell a story in a bit. And we are very honored to be here. Thank you for the land recognition. We sure appreciate it. And we'd like to welcome everyone who's here in collaboration to save our planet. The most important thing is for us to come together for preservation of our land and resources. Our identity as Nooksack people, as you know, is the land. The resources are what kept us alive and does keep us alive still to this day. So we have a very vested interest in this. And we want to come to the table with you. And we are very happy that you've welcomed us into this symposium so that we could collaborate and come together to find ways to better what's there and to continue the work that's been going on. It has helped us to network, this symposium has, and the many people who have supported this networking, including the tribes, is very, very important. Today, we are storytellers, and storytellers are the persons who pass on the ancestral knowledge of what goes through the ages and what comes from the past and what goes into the future. As you heard from our introductions, my daughter and I are grandparents, and I am a great-grandparent, which makes it very important for us because in our culture, the 7 generations that are further out from us are the people who are most important to us. So we have to preserve, we have to remember, we have to make sure that everyone understands that that's why we're here, is to help the future generations. Now, the storytellers are normally only storytelling in the winter time because that is our last time. Other than that, during the year, we are gathering, hunting, fishing, and even to this day, we have people in our tribe who do this work. As we know, with modern times, we have to have jobs, we have to have houses, we have to have a way to have a vehicle and things like that. But we also are very in tune to the preservation of the land. Our tribe works very hard to do this with our natural resources department, and we're allowed to come together in that arena too and work hard to preserve. The Creator created all the animals, and the animals became our teachers. There are so many stories that come from the animals. And if we didn't have the animals, then our culture and traditions probably wouldn't be there because that's how we learned. There are a lot of those creation stories, and I like the one that was very simply put by my relative just recently. She said, you know, when the creation was done, the Creator saw that there was no salmon. So he took the pine needles and he threw them into the water, and there came the salmon. So I really thought that was a really exciting little story there. You know, everything has its origin. And so, of course, being a storyteller from this area, and I'm sure that many of you are from this area, you know, we have Komokoshan. And this story is about Komokoshan and the twin sisters. A long, long time ago, there was this set of twins. And this chief was so excited because he wanted to marry his twins off to the other chief's sons. One son, his name was Komokoshan. The other son, his name was Tahoma. Oh, the twins were being courted by them, and both of them fell in love with Komokoshan. The Creator shook his head. He didn't know what to do. They fought and they fought and they argued about who was going to marry Komokoshan. And the Creator doesn't like it when we argue. So he had to make a decision. He made a decision to place the twins at the foot of Komokoshan. Until the end of time, the twins will sit at the foot of Komokoshan, never to be married to him. To this day, the twins sit there, but they cannot reach him. And if you look to the south, you can see Tahoma rising high above to make sure that the twins never get to have Komokoshan. And that's the end of the story. So that story is how things came to be. And that's how the stories come about and what we tell whenever we tell stories. So the important thing here for us to collaborate and to come together and network is that we each recognize our own gifts. And the Creator gave each one of us a gift. I am a storyteller. And gratefully, I accept that. I remember when I was told that I was going to be a storyteller, an elder sat me down and said, when you're asked to tell a story, you tell a story. So I'm grateful that I was taught that from my elder. So now today, when I get asked, I go and tell a story. And Zoom has made it quite easy, actually, for me to do that. But you know, the gifts that we have, we never know what they are. And it might seem small to one person, what gift we have, but it is not. So your gift of just caring and being here is so important. I thank you for being here, because I know that you are here because you care. A long, long time ago, there was 4 brothers. One of them, his name was Elk. Oh, Elk was tall and lean. He had great, big, huge horns on the top of his head and a big, giant neck. He could ram into things with his horns. Brother Bear was the next brother. Brother Bear was a big, big, big animal, and he had a giant neck. He had great, big, giant claws, but he could stand up on 2 legs, and he was really tall. And when he wanted to, he could take his claws and grab things and use his giant neck and push things. And then Brother Mole, itty bitty brother. Brother Mole could dig really far into the ground. Brother Mole was fast at digging. That was his gift. And then there was Raven. You know, Raven could fly. His big giant wings, he could go high up into the sky and see all around the land. Each brother was so proud of their gift. And they were kind of proud of each other too. Well, Elk was telling about how he could ram into things with his big giant horns. And Bear said he could stand on his feet and he could push with his big giant claws. And Mole said, well, none of you can dig. I can dig faster than anyone. And Raven said, none of you can fly high into the sky like me. So they were sitting there arguing by the fire. That's all they did was argued, argued, argued. Well, the Creator, he didn't like that. He didn't know what to do. So he had an idea. He took the sun and he took it out of the sky and he put it into a box and he put it behind Komokoshan. Well, it got dark. Luckily, they had that fire going. Brother Elk said, well, I'll go get the sun. He went up to the mountain and he put his horns down and he pawed the ground and he rammed into the mountain. And then he rammed into the mountain and he got away from the mountain. He was dizzy and he couldn't believe that he didn't get the mountain to move at all. So he rammed into the mountain again and boom, his horns fell off. There was Brother Elk wandering around all dizzy with no horns. Brother Bear shook his head, watched his brother walk around all dizzy. Brother Bear said, I'll go get the sun. And he went up to the mountain. He stood up and he clawed the mountain and he pushed with his giant neck and he pushed and he pushed. Pretty soon he fell asleep. Well, Brother Mole looked around and said, oh my goodness, look at my brother Elk. He is all dizzy and he has no horns. And look at my brother Bear, he's snoring. I'll go get the sun, he said. I can dig under the mountain. And so he began digging, 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 digging under the mountain. It took him a long, long time. He could not get to the other side. So he came back out. And when he came out, the fire blinded him. So there was Mole, blind, bumping into things. He couldn't see anything. Brother Raven looked at his brothers and shook his head. He couldn't believe what was going on. His brother Elk didn't have any more horns. Brother Bear wasn't even awake. And Brother Mole was blind. He said, I'll go get the sun. And he flew high up over the mountain. And he landed on the box, wondering, how am I going to get this box lid open? And he just pushed his giant wings up and down as fast and as hard as he could. And he used his claws and he pulled the box open. And whoosh, the sun went up into the sky. And Brother Raven's claws were black charcoal and really shriveled up. So to this day, in the wintertime especially, Elk loses his horns, Brother Bear goes to sleep. You see those little mole holes in your yard, and you see a lot of Raven with his claws all shriveled up. And that's the end of the story. As you can see, we each have our gift. We never know when that gift is going to come in handy. So continue, please continue to be a part of and continue to do the preservation work that you do. We appreciate you and we're so happy that you do that. And now my daughter, my apprentice, is going to tell you a story that she knows.
Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see so many people on here. It means that the networking is working and it's happening, and I'm so grateful to see it. I'm going to tell a story about Basket Woman, Takuya. A long, long time ago, the brother and sister were outside playing. All of the chores had been done. The grandmas were in the longhouse, and they were making baskets and weaving and crocheting and doing all kinds of stuff that needed to be done for the winter, for their gathering. And the moms and dads were outside, and they were hunting and gathering berries and fishing and doing all the stuff that was needed. So the brother and sister, they were bored. They wanted to go do something. They could hear all of their cousins down at the river playing. They could hear them laughing. Pretty soon, brother says, let's go to the river. Let's go play down at the river with our cousins. We don't have anything to do at home right now, so let's do it. She said, we can't go to the river. Last time we went to the river, we got lost. It's okay, sister. I found my way. I know my way. We can go down there. Let's go play. She said, okay, well, what about Takuya? Remember Takuya? She eats bad children. We cannot go down to the river, not without our parents. He said, oh no, sister, that's just a story that they all tell us so that we don't do bad things. It's okay. And she said, oh, okay. All right. So pretty soon they start walking down the trail. It was a pretty long trail. So they got to skip and have a little fun talking and playing. So they got down to the river. The sun was shining over the trees. It was so warm. So they got in the river, they're playing, skipping, having a good time with their cousins. All their cousins were down there playing. They were laughing and having just a great time. Pretty soon, the sun started to go behind the trees and it started to get cold. Sister started to shiver a little bit. So her brother comes over and he says, let's make a fire. So all the kids worked together to get wood, and they grabbed and they're gathering wood, and they had a big old pile of wood. They started, big brother, he starts making a fire, and little sister, she's sitting there right next to the fire getting nice and warm, and she's super, super comfortable. All the kids go out and they're out playing more, and little sister, she's sitting there by the log. Pretty soon she could hear something. She could hear the bushes in the back, and she could hear footsteps and branches breaking. She said, you guys, come here, Takuya. She's back there. I can hear her. I heard her. I heard the branches breaking. I know she's back there. They all come running over, and they're looking around, and they couldn't see anything, They couldn't see Takuya. Sister was just telling them that, no, that's not Takuya. Takuya's not back there. So they all kind of scatter again and start playing. And all of a sudden, the little girl, she hears it again, and she could hear it getting stronger and stronger, like louder and louder. She could hear Takuya coming. You guys are coming. Takuya's here. I know, I can hear it. I can hear it. And they all come running. And pretty soon, all of a sudden, Takuya jumps out from the bushes. She's this big, hairy, tall lady with hair all over her. She's 9 foot tall, big old huge shoulders with a big old basket on her back. She was so excited to see all of these kids in the big fire. Her fire was already made just so she could eat her children. She starts plucking the children and putting them in her basket, and she's grabbing them. The little girl sitting over there by the log. Takuya said, hey, there's a little girl over there. So she goes over and she grabs her and she puts her in her basket, and she just starts dancing around the fire, putting all the wood. She was so excited. Those kids had gathered her wood for her. She didn't have to do it. So she's stoking up her fire, just waiting for the kids. All the kids in the back were just crying, I want my mommy, I want to go home, I don't want to be in this basket. And the little girl looks up and she said, hey, I have rocks in my hands. All the kids said, so what is rocks gonna do? You know, when our grandmas, when they make the baskets, they use the rocks to soften the cedar. We can make a hole in the basket and we can jump out. Let's do it. So they all started making a hole in the cedar basket, and all of a sudden they could see the ground. It started opening up more and more. And then they said, okay, on the count of 3, we're going to jump out. 1, 2, 3. They jumped out and they pushed Takuya into the fire, and poof, all around there was mosquitoes. And that's the end of the story. To this day, you'll have lots of mosquitoes out there, and who knows if they're eating you.
Oh, okay. Yes.
We've had a lot of fun with that story, I tell you. Angela's done an incredible job in doing that story, and I'm so proud of her. We hope that everyone here will know the importance of having the tribes at the table, and know that all of the stories that we have are because of our resources and because of the land. Everything is significant, even the mosquitoes and the rocks. So you see how important that is to us. It is who we are. And the land is sacred to our people. And we wanted to make sure that all of this is done in a good way. Because at the beginning of everything in our way, we start with ceremony, song, and prayer. So we would like to sing the Salish anthem now, and then we will be finished. Oh, we oh. We oh, oh, we oh, we oh, ah, hey, ah, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah. Oh, we oh, we oh, oh, we oh, we oh, ah, hey, ah, ah, Thank you.
You still there?
Thank you. I think Austin, are you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was just unmuting and putting my video back on. So that concludes our first segment of this conference, so the welcome and keynote speakers. So now what you will need to do if you want to join the following session, the collaborative efforts to remove green crab, you'll need to leave this Zoom platform, go back to the lobby, and then join that session, which will start in 3 minutes and 53 seconds. We'll see you there. Thank you so much, Tammy and Angela.